Sammy?
Doc. I am very, very heartbroken.
You are very what?
Heartbroken.
Heartbroken.
I am very sad. I feel like weeping for this country of ours.
Why?
Because of the wickedness
of
the people at the helm of affairs of our country today. The thievery of state resources is becoming too much. You see, the cup of Ken Ofori Atta, President Akufo-Addo, and Alhaji Bawumia is full. God is exposing them. And that is why they are making a mockery of themselves this way. This document, which was presented to the August House of Parliament yesterday, Doc, it is a mess. This is stealing gone bad.
Why?
Because the figures don't add up. The figures are cooked. The figures are contrived with the aim of rationalizing stealing.
Prove that.
And I'm going to prove that to you.
Prove that.
You see, what Ken Ofori Atta was supposed to do was to give us an account of monies we have received as a country as a result of COVID-19, that is COVID-19 related inflows or revenue vis-a-vis COVID-19 related expenditures. This is not rocket science. It is very, very basic. That is what an account is. Show us how much came into this country as a result of COVID, and show us what you have used the money for. Let me start with the inflows. What, according to Ken Ofori Atta, has accrued to us as a result of COVID-19. At paragraph 6 of his speech, Ken Ofori Atta says that this government programmed to raise funds of 19.3 billion in 2020 when COVID struck. This is what he says. Let me read. Paragraph 6. Furthermore, during the presentation of the 2020 mid-year fiscal policy, I indicated the supplementary request included a programmed funding of 19.3 billion cedis from various funding sources to support the budgets, both directly and indirectly. So 19.3 billion in 2020. Put that in mind. Number 9, or paragraph 9, he says that out of this 19.3 billion, what they have mobilized is 18.19 billion. So he says that, Mr. Speaker, to mitigate the impact of the pandemic on businesses and households and ensure that economic activities recover and minimize job losses, government mobilized 18.19 billion. So he is talking about 19.3 billion being money, the total amount of money that government programmed to raise or sourced for COVID-19 in 2020. Now, this, if you check the 2021 budget, mid-year budget review, page 99, appendix 12B, no, 4B, you will find the breakdown of that 19.3 billion. So it is titled Funding Sources for the 2020 budget following the impact of COVID-19. So this is 2020 budget. Funding sources. So GOG contingency fund, the money they took from the stabilization fund, 1.2 billion. Monies accrued by the Mills Mahama administration from our oil revenue. Then the World Bank gave them $230 million in 2020. That is what translates into 1.3 billion, a little over that. And the breakdown is $65 million from Garrett, then $35 million from the Fast Track COVID-19 facility, and another $130 million from the Fast Track COVID-19 additional facility. Then the IMF gave them $1 billion. That translates into 5.8 billion cedis and over. AFDB gave them 405 million Ghana cedis, EU 504 million Ghana cedis, and Bank of Ghana 10 billion. That is what gives you the 19.3 billion for 2020. Yet when you come to paragraph 19, where Ken Ofori Atta is rationalizing or seeking to explain the inconsistency in the figures the president, the vice president, and he has put out relative to monies that have accrued to us as a country, this is what he had to say. We have subsequently reconciled the data. I can report that as of the end May 2022, we have mobilized 18.19 billion. How is that possible? What about the allocations and the monies that accrued to this country in 2021? Because in 2020, you programmed a total of 19.3 billion. And you say that you mobilized 18.1 billion. And I will demonstrate to you that that is not even true. Okay? But let's work with this 2020. This is for 2020. What about 2021? Page 99 of the 2021 media budget, Appendix 4C. Funding sources for the 2021 budget following the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. So after 2020, they come to 2021. Apart from GOG funding, Government of Ghana funding, 4.5 billion. Donor funds, 1.7 billion. The total is 6.2 billion. Do you know the breakdown of the donor funds?
Yeah.
World Bank, $200 million, equivalent to 1.15 billion. Where is that money? From the accounts Ken Ofori Atta rendered to Parliament yesterday. Because at paragraph 12 of his speech, God, listen to me carefully. Ken Ofori Atta says that, Mr. Speaker, an additional financing of $200 million was also secured in 2021, largely for the acquisition and deployment of COVID-19 vaccines to support other sources of financing of vaccination program under this plan. So after the World Bank gave you $230 million in 2020, they added $200 million to it, making it $430. And that is why the World Bank country director on 4 February 2022 said, and was reported by the media, that we have provided $430 million to Ghana to fight COVID-19. Now, out of that 19.3, which Ken says he has mobilized 18.1 billion, only $230 million of the World Bank funds is accounted for. The extra $200 million for COVID vaccines came in 2021. It is equivalent to 1.1 billion. Ken has not accounted for it. So if you say that the total amount of money that has accrued to Ghana is 19.3 billion or 18.1 billion, that is 2020. You have left out the 1.1 billion equivalent to $200 million that came from the World Bank in 2021. Again, the same Appendix 4C, they said that Korea had given us a grant, free money, of $3.7 million. Then Korea gave us another grant of $30 million, equivalent to 172 million Ghana cedis. Then Korea gave us another 30 million for COVID-19 emergency response program, another 170 million. Then Germany gave us 40 million euros for reform financing budget support, equivalent to 280 million. If you add all these figures together, plus the GOG financing, you get 6.2 billion. This is from page 99, Appendix 4C, of the 2021 media budget review. Pass it to Doc, he can see it. So 6.2 billion came to you in 2021. Where is it? So let's even say that 2020 was 19.3. Ken is saying that as at May 2022, total money that has accrued to government, paragraph 19 of his speech, he says it's 18.1. I'm saying that cannot be true because 2020 was 19.3. You say you got 18.1. No problem. But 2021, you got 6.2. From your own budget, the figures are there. And if for nothing at all, we know that as for the World Bank one, it has been released to you. The country director has said it. And you have already spent it on vaccines. Why are you not accounting for that? Again, you recall the special drawing rights amount that was given to Ghana in 2021 by the IMF. The IMF just didn't give us 1 billion. No. The first $1 billion was rapid credit facility in 2020. Doc, I lie? Then there was a second $1 billion special drawing rights. Somebody said, oh, that one was not related to COVID. It's a lie, and I'll prove that to you. Doc, Before I came here, I went on the Ministry of Finance website.
Okay.
If you are watching me, Google, this is the title of the story. Ghana has received $1 billion allocation from the historic $650 billion IMF SDR. SDR means Special Drawing Rights allocation to boost global recovery. Now listen to their press statement. Ken Ofori Atta's press statement. First paragraph. Ghana has received $1 billion allocation from the historic $650 billion IMF SDR allocation to boost global recovery. Title. Now paragraph 1. Ghana has received the equivalent of $1 billion from the International Monetary Fund, being a share of the new Special Drawing Rights allocation to boost the post-COVID economic recovery of member countries. Can you tell us that this money was not COVID related? This is money, $1 billion Special Drawing Rights for post-COVID recovery. And the last time I checked, Doc, you can also check, they have drawn down over $400 million of this $1 billion. So where is that $400 million in the report Ken presented to Parliament? What am I telling you? I am telling you that in terms of the inflows, in terms of the COVID-related revenue that came into this country from 2021 to 2021, Ken Ofori Atta has peddled lies. That amount is not 18.1 billion as at May 2022. It is far in excess of that amount, because 6.2 billion came in per his own Appendix 4C of the mid-year budget review for 2021. It is there. Doc, I've given it to you. Korea, Germany, World Bank and all that, it is there. And there has also been special drawing rights of 1 billion. This is his own press release when the money was released. And they've drawn down over $400 million. Doc, apart from that, there is another $20 million from IFAD. IFAD is International Fund for Agricultural Development. They gave us $20 million to support farmers as a result of COVID-19. And Parliament approved it. Where is that as well? So he has understated the COVID-related revenue and inflows because they have stolen the money and they cannot account. They have stolen the money.
No.
This is TV. No, it is TV because if you go to Parliament after 16 questions have been asked of you, and you have taken, Doc, I'm coming, and you have taken several weeks and months to prepare a report, and you tell us at paragraph 19 of your speech that as at May 2022, we have received 18.1 billion as a result of COVID. And I am showing you per his own documents. Let me just prove to you.
No, you have.
Look, this is page 274. This is another document. Hold on. Page 274 of the 2021 budget. Program allocated amounts 19.3 billion. This is for 2020, like I read to you. Then 18.1 billion. In the speech, he says mobilize, but I'll show you that it's not mobilization. So this is for 2020. Then I'll show you your document, 2021, 6.2 billion. Korea, Germany, World Bank, the World Bank money has come. Special drawing rights, this is your press release, $1 billion. You've drawn over 400 million from that. IFAD, $20 million. Why are you concealing the figures?
Okay.
Why are you understating the figures?
So Sammy, you can accuse the minister of understating. You can accuse the minister of concealing.
Yeah.
And you have demonstrated that with the minister's own documents. But you cannot accuse the minister of stealing.
You see, in accounting, concealment of data, understating data is means of stealing. Because you are accounting, Doc. Doc, I've given you money.
On this table, you are the lawyer.
Yeah.
You cannot accuse the minister of stealing on the basis of
providing
evidence to show that.
Why is he concealing the figures?
That's a different.
Why is he understating?
You can ask those legitimate questions.
So here
but you cannot conclude that he has stolen.
And I'll show you why I'm concluding. But this is just on the revenue side. Let me go to the expenditure side. Then you will see the stealing. If you see the totality of the evidence, then you will see that any reasonable bystander, I'm coming. You see, in law,
you don't need to make the accusation of stealing to make your point. I'm saying that up to this point,
I am done with my analysis.
You have used the finance minister's own document to demonstrate,
and I'm not
that look, there are a lot of problems with the presentation to Parliament yesterday, there are a lot of figures that should have been there that are not there. The inconsistencies are there. The apparent and declaration and reporting and even concealment and all that are there. But all of that cannot lead to the accusation of stealing.
I'm coming. I'm saying that by the time I am done with the analysis, this is on revenue.
Yes.
By the time I'm done with the expenditure side, any reasonable bystander, that is what the lawyers will say, will come to the conclusion that this is stealing.
So leave that.
No, Doc, I cannot leave it. I'm entitled to form an opinion. I'm entitled to make an inference based on the data.
Sammy,
but let me go into the
what you need to also appreciate, I'll allow you to go to the expenditure. What you need to appreciate is that in as much as you're entitled to forming an opinion, expressing that opinion on this platform has implications and ramifications for the platform. And so I reserve the right to tell you that you cannot express that opinion.
No problem. Let me finish.
Do the analysis.
Let me finish.
Leave the conclusion to the viewers. Yes.
But I can also conclude.
I'm saying that concluding that somebody has stolen when there is no evidence of stealing.
Doc,
it's unacceptable.
That's it. Doc, I give you 50,000 Ghana cedis to build me a house.
Yes.
I ask you to account for the 50,000 cedis.
Yes.
And you bring me an account that says that I give you 20,000 cedis. What is that?
Ask me to account for the shortfall.
Yes.
But don't call me a thief.
What is that? You are hiding different sources of revenue that has come. What is that? Look, let's go to the expenditure. Ken Ofori Atta says that in 2020, we spent 8.1 billion on COVID. And in 2021, 3.9 billion. And so in total, we spent 12 billion.
Right.
That is what he's saying. And he's saying that we spent this 12 billion out of a total accrual of 18.1 billion. That cannot be true.
Why?
Because number one, at paragraph 274, or page 274, of the 2021 budget, when he was accounting for the 2020 COVID-19 allocation, this is what he said. Contingency fund allocated amount was 1.2 billion.
Right.
Utilization, meaning expenditure, was also 1.2 billion. There was a small balance of 2 million. Then the World Bank gave us 1.3 billion, and at the time he was reporting to Parliament, we had utilized, this is utilization. After this, I'll give you the document. 532 million. Now, IMF gave us 5.8 billion. At the time he was reporting this to Parliament in 2021, we had utilized 5.5 billion. And the balance was 286 million. AFDB gave us 405 million. At the time he made this report to Parliament, we had utilized 389 million. It comes down. So, the total allocation for 2020 was 19.3 billion, and the total utilization was 18.1 billion for 2020. That is not mobilized funds.
And this is the budget
statement. Yes, it is either he cannot read or he's lying. Because what is here is utilization. You can take it.
I have that.
Yes. So utilization is 18.1 for 2020. And that is how come Adongo got 22 billion, because he added the 3.9 billion for 2021 to 18.1 to get the 22 billion.
Yes.
So you cannot say that you have spent 12 billion after you have told Parliament that you have spent 18.1 billion.
Could it not mean that the 22 billion reported was false in 2021?
But the man has given you allocation of 19.3 billion, utilization of 18.1, which is expenditure. He has shown you the balance is 1.1 billion. And the key expenditures he spent the 18.1 billion on, he has provided support for households, relief to health workers, soft loans for micro, small, and medium-sized businesses, evacuation of stranded Ghanaians and other expenditures, PPEs, medical equipment and treatment, testing and treatment, community engagement, communication, quarantine. All of that is what led to the 18.1 billion expenditure. Then he comes to Parliament in 2022 and he says that no, I spent 12 billion.
You know, that was the question I asked Dr. Kobo when he spoke about the rationalization of the 17 said by the president and the 18. That's why I asked, why did the finance minister not speak to
Because this is his budget, approved by Parliament.
So,
it is law.
He sent this to Parliament.
Yes.
And he put the tables there. How much was allocated? And then how much was utilized?
Yes.
And what is the balance?
And I'm showing you why this is a mess.
Now my point is that if you have told Parliament that I spent 22 billion, I utilized. You've told Parliament
18.1 billion in 2020.
Yes.
And then
3.9 billion.
Utilized.
Yes. And you've given a breakdown of your utilization.
Yes.
How do you in 2022
say that it is 12 billion?
Say that I've utilized 12 billion.
Now,
there must be an explanation.
I will show that to you. You see, here he says the 18.1 billion is utilization. But come to paragraph 19.
Utilization.
He says utilization, which is expenditure.
Yes.
You read better than me, so you can see utilization. Now come to paragraph 19 of the speech he presented to Parliament yesterday.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, at this juncture, I wish to dispel the notion that there have been inconsistencies in Ghana government's data on COVID-19. He is now responding to you. His Excellency the President intimated during the State of the Nation address on 30th March 2022 that he had mobilized, look at the words, mobilized about 17.7 billion since 2020 to fight the pandemic. Lie number one. This is the State of the Nation address. The relevant portions. This is President Akufo Addo speaking. We provided nearly 5 million households and over 10 million people with electricity and water subsidies at the time they were most needed. In all, data from the Ministry of Finance, not Akufo Addo's data.
The president's source.
The president's source is the Ministry of Finance. Tells us that an amount of 17.7 billion or 4.6% of GDP has been spent, not mobilized.
Yes, that's what I heard the president say.
Spent in containing the pandemic since 2020. Ken says the president said we had mobilized 17.7 billion. He's a liar.
That's a liar.
That's number one. Next sentence. We have subsequently reconciled the data, and I can report that as of the end May 2022, we have mobilized 18.19 billion. I'm saying that in your own budget, you said the 18.1 billion was utilization, expenditure. Are you getting me? The president says 17.7 billion is expenditure. So it cannot be mobilization.
And
if it's mobilization, what happened to the 2021 6.2 billion? What happened to the special drawing rights? He clearly is lying. Then come to the next sentence. Again, when His Excellency the Vice President indicated on 7th April 2022 at the National TESCON conference that government has spent 8.1 billion on COVID-19, it was within the context of expenditure for 2020, as I've already indicated. Line number 3. Dr. Bawumia never said that the COVID expenditure of 8.1 billion was for 2020.
What did he say?
Listen. Page 27, paragraph 2, Bawumia's speech. Comparing the fiscal deficit in 2020 and 2021 between Ghana and other sub-Saharan African countries, table 4, it is clear that COVID-19 expenditures alone is not a sufficient explanation for the increase in the fiscal deficit in 2020 and 2021. So the context,
we showed that video.
The context is
20. There's a video.
Yes.
Of this.
The context is 2020 and 2021.
True.
The first, then he comes. This is the table he provided. Table 5, expenditure on exceptional items from 2018, Doc, are you listening? Yes. To 2021. And he says that COVID-19 expenditure, Bawumia spoke in 2022. And he says he's giving you a report on COVID-19 expenditure for 2020 and 2021. And the expenditure is 8.1. And the Ken Ofori Atta, in order to rationalize this inconsistency, comes to light to the people of this country and our honorable members of parliament that, you know what, Bawumia spoke within the context of 2020. Bawumia said this report was 2020 for 2020 and 2021, 8.1 billion. Nanado didn't talk about, President Akufo Addo, didn't talk about mobilizing 17.7 billion. He said we have spent 17.7 billion. And Ken Ofori Atta spoke to expenditure of 12 billion after he had already reported to parliament utilization, which is expenditure of 18.1 billion. So, Doc, now the figures are 18.1 billion according to Ken Ofori Atta, appendix 12B of the 2021 budget, page 274. 12 billion according to Ken Ofori Atta's latest report to Parliament expenditure. 17.7 billion according to the State of the Nation address by the President, and Bawumia 8.1%. 4 expenditure figures. Then, Doc, you know what? One of the most serious issues, the issue of, okay, let's even grant Ken Ofori Atta that the report he presented to Parliament yesterday was accurate, the accurate one. So we got 18.1 billion. It cannot be true because in 2021 they projected to raise 6.2 billion, and about 90% of those monies have come in already. Special drawing rights of 1 billion, you've already withdrawn $400 million, $20 million. So we know that. Hold on. But let's even say that it was 18.1 billion for purposes of argument, and he claims he has spent 12 billion. Let's forget about all the other figures we have been told. There is a gap of 6 billion. If you are accounting for monies you have been given, I give you 1 billion to do something for me. Account for what you have done with the 1 billion. And you account for 600 million without accounting for 400 million. Doc, what is that? It means you cannot tell me what you use the difference for. In this whole speech, Ken did not speak to what that gap of 6 billion per this latest report, which is a cooked report. He didn't tell us what that gap, that amount of money, 6 billion, was spent on. His deputies, John Kuma, and the other one, the lady said that they used that difference to show up the budget. What does that mean?
Budgetary support.
But if you use it for budgetary support, it should be here. And the budget is made up of items. So you will tell the people of this country that we use this money for budgetary support, and 1 billion went into this. 200 million went into that. Because budgetary support is not, it cannot be vague. What are the items in the budget that you use that money
for? You're saying that because that money was mobilized in the name of COVID.
Yes.
Even though it was spent on non-COVID items, in presenting the expenditure to the extent that it has been utilized, those non-COVID expenditures should also have been stated.
Exactly, because even in the 12 billion he has reported, it is not COVID-related expenditure alone. Releases to statutory funds are captured as part of the 12 billion.
All right. Okay.
Monies that have got nothing to do with COVID-19 are captured. So why have you captured all that COVID-related expenditure, non-COVID-related expenditure, 12 billion? It is in the speech. But 6 billion, you can't tell us what you use it for. John Kuma said on PM Express yesterday that they use the money to pay salaries. And where is it in this report? When in 2021 you had in excess of 55 billion in tax revenue. 2020 you had in excess of 45 billion in tax revenue. You are saying that you use COVID funds to pay salaries. How much did you use to pay salaries? Whose salaries? Where did the money go? They can't tell us. And finally, Doc, the COVID trust fund that was established, they gave you time. You said you want me to talk before you come. So let me talk.
Sammy, just go on. That's one.
Listen. Parliament passed Act 1013, establishing the novel COVID-19 trust fund.
Right.
And section 5.2 of that act, anybody can check it, says that proceeds into that fund or monies in that fund will be disbursed according to a formula determined by the Board of Trustees and subject to the approval of the minister. Now, in previous budgets that Ken has reported to Parliament, because of time I can't go into that, he has reported in excess of 57 million cedis. That is over 570 billion cedis as the total accruals in that trust. So we're expecting that he would have accounted for those monies. Honorable, there is no sentence or line in this whole report about what they have used all those donations for. And then his deputy was asked on Joy yesterday why they didn't account for that. He said, as for those monies, they are spent by the board. So Parliament, if Parliament wants answers, they should invite. He doesn't even know, that man who is an MP, doesn't even know that Board of Trustees the Board of Trustees doesn't have audience before Parliament. And it is the supervising minister, the Minister for Finance, Ken Ofori Atta, who is the one to render account for and on behalf of the trust. Because it is subject to his approval that disbursements are made from the trust. And all these millions of monies that accrue to you, you have not accounted for that. And then you look at some of the expenditure items. Doc, a whopping 1.1 billion cedis was spent on the procurement of face masks, hand sanitizers, and Veronica buckets for the reopening of schools. Check the State of the Nation address again. I'm showing you more inconsistencies. Ken Ofori Atta says at Ken Ofori Atta says at paragraph 36, right? Paragraph 36 of his speech that, Mr. Speaker, the last sentence, this was largely successful with minimal infections among the students. An amount of 1.1 billion was allocated for mass school reopening in January 2021. So 1.1 billion. Then President Akufo-Addo spoke to us earlier and said in his State of the Nation address in March this year that it took an unbudgeted 1.9 billion cedis to ensure that our children and teaching staff went back and stayed in school safely. So Nanado has reported 1.9 billion on the procurement of face masks, Veronica buckets, and hand sanitizers for the mass reopening of schools. Ken Ofori Atta, months after, is reporting 1.1 billion. And in fact, the breakdown is not even given. How much of this amount was spent on face masks? At what unit price? How much of this amount was spent on hand sanitizers? And at what unit price? What quantities? So, these headline figures will not wash. You tell us that we have spent 600 billion on supporting small and medium scale enterprises. Where did the money go to? If for nothing at all, we know that you're a member of your parliamentary candidate for Sagnerigu in the northern region, deputy vice chairperson in northern region for the MPP, says that you gave 50,000, another 30,000, a total of 100,000, 1 billion OCDs from these COVID funds. You distributed it to your party apparatchiks for campaign purposes. And you expect us to expect the global figure of 600 billion without giving us a breakdown and the details. You claim to have spent 42 million cedis, 420 billion OCDs on hot meals during a 3-week partial lockdown in Accra, Kaswa, and Kumasi. 420 billion OCDs on kenke without fish and rice without egg. Doc, what am I saying? I'm saying that number one, these figures are cooked. The inflows don't add up. We go far in excess of what Ken Ofori Atta has reported, and I've demonstrated that to you. The expenditure doesn't add up 4 different expenditure figures. Clearly, they are lying. They are hiding the figures. Number 3, they have not accounted for the COVID trust fund. Number 4, even the gap between what they claim to have accrued to them in terms of revenue and what they have spent has not been explained and accounted for. And I am saying that objectively, as a reasonable bystander looking through these figures, putting the totality of the evidence together, this is stealing gone bad. The only way you make a mess and a mockery of yourself like this as a finance minister, even when you are given ample time to prepare a report like this, is when you have misappropriated monies and you are trying to rationalize figures at all costs. That is why the figures will expose you. And I want to end by commending our gallant 137 minority NDC members of parliament. But for their perseverance, but for their diligence, this man Ken Ofori Atta would have escaped accountability. Let me single out the Right Honorable Speaker Abba Bagben. He had to even threaten government and the finance minister that come and account for COVID-19 funds, or else we will not deal with any business from your ministry. These are the patriots I celebrate and salute this morning. And we must probe this matter. And in fact, Doc, this is the more reason why, if you are watching me this morning, you must come out in your red and black on the 28th and on the 29th for the Rise Ghana historic demonstration, so that together we can demand for proper accountability.
All right. Doc, I've written a lot. Let me say quickly that some of these renditions